Last Friday, a flawed software update from the cybersecurity vendor CrowdStrike led to gridlock at airports, delays at 911 call centers, and chaos at hospitals unable to perform many routine surgeries. The worldwide fallout left many wondering how a single company's failure could lead to such a worldwide system collapse. Just how brittle is the world's digital infrastructure? And if an unintentional mistake could lead to such damage, what havoc could bad actors create with deliberate sabotage? Join me now to discuss this, Congressman Mike Collins. He serves on the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, and the Committee on Natural Resources. He represents Georgia's 10th Congressional District. Congressman Collins, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
I think, this news has kind of gotten shoved away to the back with the news of President Biden stepping aside over the weekend. But, I saw this very concerning. The shutdowns that occurred on Friday were unprecedented. What do we know so far?
Well, Tony, I think you were hitting the nail on the head in so many different ways when you were going over your text and your Bible verse there. We have gotten away from an agenda of hard work, personal responsibility, even gotten away from hiring people that are qualified to work. And we've gone more towards an introspective, everything is about me. So you've got a lot of remote work going on now. And in particular, I think CrowdStrike is one of them, that they pride themselves more on being remotely working instead of working in an office among their peers. But we have seen time and time again, not just CrowdStrike, but with other industries that are more focused on DEI and ESG, therefore checking a box and trying to fill positions of something other than what they know or what their abilities are to do the job, and that's where you're seeing all these problems at. It's whether it's CrowdStrike, whether it's the airline industries, the railroad industries, whether it's even the Secret Service. We have got to get back to hiring people that are qualified to do the job, and not this DEI to just fill some sort of social agenda that this administration has obviously been pushing.
Yeah, I think that clearly is coming to the forefront with the Secret Service. In fact, we were talking about that earlier in the program. When it impacts people and it's out front and they see it, hopefully they can connect the dots, or at least we'll help them do that. Now, these outages reportedly were not caused by a cyber attack. The CEO of CrowdStrike said, "Hey, it was a faulty update, so that created this failure. Taking responsibility for it, apologize for it." But here's a question, Congressman Collins: how worried should we be that a single company's error could cause such chaos? And given the critical infrastructure that is influenced by by Microsoft, and this was what the update was for, what kind of oversight is provided? What if there was a bad actor that intentionally sabotaged an update to a software system?
No, I think you're exactly right. When you have these big tech companies that have forged a monopoly on so much of our business aspect, that it is time that we take a hard look at just how vulnerable the business sector in general is, and how much reliability we have on just very few companies, if not in particular just one company, and how much that company, Microsoft, has over being able to just shut down our country at any given time. Because you're right, all it takes is one bad actor to come in and not just an update, but maybe sabotage an update.
Right.
And you cripple the country.
Right.
You've seen this. You take the airline industry, for instance. This is the second time in less than 2 years that they have gone down for a long period of time. And you can't sustain that over and over and over again. You're going to see a lot of balance sheets that are not going to look too good when their quarterly earnings come out.
Right. Well, and you think of the complications that that creates for Americans. You serve on the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, which has oversight of this sector. What do you think the role of Congress will be, in particular your committee, following this episode?
Sure. Well, we need to bring in the appropriate people from these industries as well as the government agencies that oversee them and drill down and find out exactly what happened. So many times, I mean, a company is not going to, they're going to tell you what they want you to know, or anything that they think they can skirt by without actually giving you facts that make them look bad. So what we need to do is make sure that we do our oversight part of our job up here, put it simply, and bring these people in and find out what exactly did happen. Because you're right, it's kind of been swept under the rug here with the Biden news, especially.
Congressman Collins, now that's obviously a role of Congress, oversight, but it's also oversight of executive agencies which have oversight directly of these things, national security. I mean, this is a national security issue, I would think. So what briefings or information have you received from the Biden administration thus far on what occurred on Friday?
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, we haven't received anything other than what we've seen on the news ourselves, which has been very little, other than the fact that it was just an upgrade, botched upgrade, and hopefully they've got the patch in to get it fixed. And what we're seeing now are ripple effects throughout the various industries, especially in the transportation sector.
I want to switch gears for just a moment. Hopefully we'll have some oversight hearings. We'll find out more about this because while this, again, as I don't want to be redundant, but while this could have been an innocent mistake, and mistakes happen, we're human beings, I think this exposes a vulnerability that needs to be looked at very carefully, because if this was intentional, it could have been much more malicious in its effect if it were intentional. Let's talk politics now. With that announcement you made reference to, kind of taking the headlines with President Biden stepping aside, Kamala Harris now appearing to be the candidate the Democrats are going to push forward. How do you see that shaking out politically going into the fall's election?
Well, you know, I think there's so many more questions than what we're getting answers to in the first place. Let's unpack this thing. If Joe Biden is unfit to run for re-election, then how is he fit to serve the country? That's the number one thing. I mean, we haven't seen President Biden since sometime last week when he said he had COVID. Now, that's just the first part. The second part is, what do they do with the 14 million people that voted for him? You know, are you going to let like 0.003% of the Democrat Party pick the nominee to run against President Trump and J.D. Vance? That certainly isolates and you know, pretty much I think it stands to show just what the Democrat Party is about, and it's about control. If Joe Biden was not losing in the polls, they would have propped this guy up until after November and propped him up to whenever they had to. So it shows you that he's not really running the country. He hasn't been. You know, and so there's a lot of answers that really the American people deserve.
Well, some of those answers we may never get. Congressman Collins, always great to see you. Thanks so much for taking time to join us today.
Well, I appreciate it, Tony. One thing for certain, though, it's not going to change how Trump or the Republicans, how we're going to run this race. This race is not about Joe Biden. He is the problem. He presented the problem. He is just the messenger. The message that this socialistic agenda that they have been pushing on the American people, that's what we've got to fight against. That's what we got to continue to push out there. We're going to keep the pedal to the metal, and we're going to keep hammering that message home to make sure that people get out and vote. They understand a lot of what the issues are. We just need to make sure that they go vote. They do that, we'll win this election, and we'll get our country back on track.
Pray, vote, stand. Mike Collins, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.